Another one.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Detroit Sports Flow here with BK
and Speaks.
This week, we will be diving into the Detroit Lions' 37-24 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. Good win here, Speaks. Not the best opponent with Joe Burrow not being in the game, but they were still a playoff team. You knew they were going to come out and try to do everything they could to get this win.
Yeah, good win on the road. We faced some injuries, and we came through on top. So anytime you can get a road W in the NFL, it's a good win, BK.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll take it. But on today's episode, we'll start you all off with get your popcorn ready. Then we will dive into the 2021 draft, talk a little bit about how we selected Penei Sewell over trading up in the draft to select Jamar Chase. Then we'll dive into Jack Fox changing the game with the field position.
Hell of a game
here
for Foxy.
Yeah, hell of a game. Was able to give us good field position or give them poor field position the entire day. So we'll dive into Jack Fox a little bit there. Then we will go into the turnovers that we were able to force, the differences that those made. And then we'll dive into the linebacking group, just how good the linebackers have been here for the first couple of weeks.
Have they ever.
Yeah, kind of the anchor of the defense there.
100%.
And then we'll get into our defensive backs, the way that they were able to kind of contain that very, very talented wide receiver core over there in Cincinnati, and then also discuss the injuries a little bit on that front. Then we're going to get into the offensive line struggles this week. I know we had to replace Taylor Decker,
huge loss,
starting left tackle early on.
Wasn't anticipated before the game up until, a couple hours before kickoff, too.
Exactly. Had to change on the fly. So we'll go into that a little bit. Then we'll go into Jameson Williams' usage. We're kind of shocked with the usage we're seeing out of him offensively out of the gates. We'll discuss that a little bit more. Then we'll talk about the heartwarming story of David Montgomery's return to Cincinnati. Just beautiful story. Really appreciate the way Cincinnati was able to produce that and make sure that she had the accommodations to be there for his sister. Then we'll get into our players of the week, our report cards, and then our predictions for this week's big matchup, Sunday Night Football at the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it, BK.
All right, BK, it's time to get your popcorn ready, baby. Let's jump right into it. Woo!
All right, Speaks, let's dive into this 2021 NFL draft here a little bit. I know Cincinnati Bengals were the main headline of it with the Detroit Lions. Throughout the whole pre-draft process, everybody thought that it was going to be Penei Sewell getting drafted to the Cincinnati Bengals in this year's draft. They thought that was going to be the protection piece
for
Joe Burrow going forward. They end up going with Jamar Chase at pick 5 rather than going with the Penei Sewell route. I know the Lions were considering moving up in the draft to select Chase in this year's selections, but we ended up staying par, and we stayed at pick 7. We end up drafting Penei Sewell at pick 7, really a cornerstone piece for us going forward, and then we were able to snag St. Brown in the third round, and then also McNeil in the second. This was a cornerstone draft
foundational
for the Detroit Lions to set up the roster and the first draft that MCDC and Brad Holmes had together. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I know that Brad Holmes and MCDC made the call to potentially move up to get Jamar Chase, but the asking price from Atlanta was too high, and we didn't want to exploit all of our assets just to go after Jamar Chase. We did exactly what we should have done and built our foundation in the trenches with Penny, and it's something I think Cincinnati wishes they might have done with all the injuries that Joe Burrow has sustained over his short career.
I completely agree. I think, that's the biggest problem for Cincinnati is they can't keep Joe Burrow healthy. The fact is he gets hit more often than most quarterbacks in the league, and Penei Sewell would have been a great piece for him. I know Jamar Chase won the Triple Crown last year for him, so he's been pretty good over there too, but Penei Sewell would really fit them as well, but he really sets up great for us moving forward.
Yeah, look at the injuries Jared Goff has sustained. Very few compared to the injuries that Joe Burrow has sustained in his career, so that's a big advocate of why we went the route we went, BK.
Yep. Speaks, we got to give some love to an unsung hero here for the Detroit Lions. Punters usually do not get a lot of credit. But
no, they don't.
Punter, Jack Fox, this week was a main reason that we were able to win this game. He consistently was pinning Cincinnati back inside of their 20-yard line.
10-yard line, 4 out of 5 times.
Yeah, 10-yard line, and he just continued to do it, and by doing that, it put a lot of pressure on this young quarterback, Jake Browning, that they had replacing Joe Burrow in the starting lineup. He had to drive the length of the field. That's much more difficult to do rather than having great field position. Jack Fox changes this game for us because they're pin back, and we keep getting turnovers in the game on their side of the 50, which ends up leading to a lot of points for us.
Yeah, when they're within their 10-yard line, puts a lot of pressure on that young quarterback who's still trying to, build the relationship with his, outside targets, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. So this just led to an easier game for us and a harder game for them with a backup quarterback. And, the proof was in the pudding with what we were able to do with the turnovers.
Yeah, and we got one safety. Should have had two safeties. Questionable call on Tyrion Arnold on that first safety that Hutch was able to get. What a
late flag.
Late flag with it, and, it was frustrating, but, we ended up getting another one with Derek Barnes there late in the game.
Yeah, we did. A little revenge.
Yeah, but that ends up changing the entire game because we're able to back them up. We're able to get the safety there, get some points on the defensive side, and then the turnovers, like I was mentioning, completely changed the landscape of the whole thing.
Yeah, when you're able to flip a field like that against a young, struggling backup quarterback, it does all the difference in the world for our defense and makes their offense struggle and have to try that much more. And you could really tell with the play call Zach Taylor had to make in this game.
Great stuff from Punts.
Yeah.
All right, Speak, so we got to dive into these turnovers as they were a big part of this victory as well.
Huge part.
We end up with 3 picks on the day, one for Anzalone, one for Amik Robertson, our corner.
Was filthy.
And then Kirby Joseph, the ball hawk.
Baby.
So ends up traveling a whole ton of distance across the field in order to get an interception too. And then we get a safety from Derek Barnes, and we get another strip sack from Aiden Hutchinson that we weren't able to recover. But this defense Speaks. They just seem to be hunting. They're getting these turnovers, which I don't think we saw a lot of last year as we were basically trying to outscore every opponent that we saw. I think this year it's been a little different. These guys are flying around. They're being more aggressive with the ball and coming up with these plays, which is putting our offense in a great position to succeed.
Yeah, and you said it. We really had to rely on the offense last year. Now this defense is smelling blood in the water. They're hunting for these turnovers. They are expecting to get these turnovers. It's something we work on week in, week out in practice, is to force these turnovers, and the evidence is in the game every single week. The blood's in the water, baby. We are forcing the turnovers, and it is fun to watch.
It's a ton of fun to watch. It just seems like a completely different unit under Kelvin Shepard. I think he's been doing an outstanding job with them. But the other benefit to this, too, is we have some of the best safeties in the league, maybe the best
Roamers,
tandem
baby.
there is. And these guys are just sitting over the middle, waiting for you to throw at them, and then they're making plays on the ball. And I think, we're starting to see that progress along. We got a little bit of cornerback issues right now with the injuries, but I expect this defense to continue to produce these turnovers.
Yeah, and these turnovers usually come at a rate like this a bit later in the season. For us to smell blood in the water this early in the season is a great sign, and we're going to see more to come, BK. BK, let's get right into the linebacker play. Ever since Kelvin Shepard has taken over the defense coordinator, I think our linebackers have transcended into a whole new stratosphere the way they're playing, BK.
Yeah, and I think it helps that Jack Campbell is playing at the level he is.
Yes.
When the anchor of your linebacking core is the third best rated linebacker in the entire league, it makes a huge difference.
Huge difference. Ever since he's taken over that green dot and the mic, I think our defense has been that much more of a cohesive unit. He's really taken it to that next level, and I think he's only getting better and better, which is scary. You made the reference last week, Luke Kuechly. I'm seeing it more and more, BK. Great comparison.
Yeah, he's just everywhere.
Yeah.
And he's tracking the ball. His effort is unquestioned. The guy is continuing to do his thing out there. But the other guy that is not being talked about, who should be talked about more, is Derek Barnes.
Man.
Derek Barnes is shutting down opposing teams' running attacks. He
sure
has
is.
been in every gap helping Jack Campbell to clean up all these plays. And he made some plays himself this week, and he was hurt most of last year. It's good to get him back and seeing what he is providing to this defense.
Yeah, and a lot of fans weren't too thrilled about that contract extension we gave him coming off that knee injury. And look at what he's done since he's been fully healthy. He just has transformed our defense, and he is stopping the run at a clip like I've never seen before. And then when he comes in on the blitz, watch out, man, with his speed. He's all over the place, baby, and we don't even have Rodrigo in the mix yet.
Yeah, and that little duck move that he used to get that safety was pretty nasty on that guard.
To say the very least.
The guard completely whiffs on it. But the other guy we got to talk about here, too, is Alex Anzalone.
Stud in coverage.
Kind of taking that step back, was the green dot last year. He's kind of played that secondary role this year, but he's been great in coverage and taking care of his business still.
He sure has. Thor, baby.
All right, Speaks, I've been hearing a lot of critiques from the Detroit Lions fan base about how bad this secondary has been all year, and I don't really understand it. I think, the situation is they come up with a few interceptions for us this week. They've been forcing turnovers. Tyrion Arnold's been, the headliner of that because we spent
bashing him.
Yeah, we spent a first-round pick on him. But, I just think it's unfair. When you're talking Kirby Joseph gets a pick this week, Amik Robertson gets his number called upon with DJ Reed being out with the injury. He's able to cover Jamar Chase and come up with a turnover for us. And these guys are, they're holding up pretty well.
Damn well.
And I'm not sure where the critiques are coming from, but, it's just the way of the fan base, right?
It is the way of the fan base. Terrion Arnold, when he was in against arguably the best wide receiver in all of football with Jamar Chase, 32 coverage snaps, 6 targets, only 3 catches for 28 yards, all on Jamar Chase, and 2 penalties, one which was very questionable, which we already talked about. Terrion Arnold, when he's in, you really see how good of a coverage corner he is. He's on an island alone. We play man. We don't play zone. So we're going to see just how much you like to have Terry Arnold in compared to when he's out, because now with him being hurt, you're really going to see how much he does help our defense.
Yeah, and it sounds like 4 weeks for him.
Yeah, at least it's not a season ender.
Yeah, at least 4 weeks on him, and that sounds like DJ Reed is going to be 4 weeks too.
Yep.
So we're pretty thin at this position group with Ennis Rakestraw one of our other rookies a couple years ago being out as well.
Yep.
It sounds like Maddox is going to be taking over a few more.
Trey Flowers had a few snaps.
Yep. Trey Flowers, another corner that we brought in, are going to take on a few more snaps. But I think the criticism speaks is because they are looking for something to criticize, because the linebackers have been so good and the defensive line has been so good. Who else do you complain about other than the secondary?
Exactly, and Amik shown that he is very capable of filling in at that outside corner. We can move Branch into the nickel formation if need be. We have options, BK.
A lot of versatility.
Yes. BK, let's get into the offensive line struggles. It was very evident that Taylor Decker wasn't in this game. After going 3 consecutive weeks without giving up a sack, we give up 4 sacks in this game. Manu played his very first game starting as an NFL player. He was up and down, showed some promise in the run game, but he struggled in the pass game, and Jared Goff, luckily, he was able to maneuver up in that pocket. Otherwise, I think it would have been more than 4 sacks on his blind side.
Yeah, I thought he navigated the pocket pretty well. Obviously, we give up the 1 fumble there on Trey Hendrickson.
He's going to get his, though.
He's going to get his. He was, the sack leader in the AFC last year.
In all of NFL.
Yeah, he was very, very good. Still is very good. But I think, with Manu, it's an interesting thing, right? Because he was a raw prospect when we ended up
British
drafting
Columbia.
him. Yeah, they were just trying to kind of work him in, and then he finally gets thrown into the fire this week. Of course, has to play left tackle, which is one of the toughest positions to play in all of the NFL.
If not the toughest.
If not the toughest. And it's one of those things where, he gets matched up out there, and you're basically on an island with some of these pass rushers. He ends up getting exposed twice with two edge rushers just basically running right around him. But, this is a testament, too, to how much Taylor Decker means to this offensive line. Having the 2 cornerstone pieces with Sewell and him on the outside makes all the difference in the world. I think as Manu sees more time, he'd be better in the pass protection, but this week he definitely struggled.
Yeah, and we do have options besides Manu. We have Devin Cochran, who is a viable option. Then we always have Old Faithful and Dan Skipper.
Bring him back.
Yeah, I think this was a smart move to sit Decker, let that shoulder try to heal up, give him some more time, because he's only been able to practice 1 time since this injury occurred in the beginning of the season. So, it was very evident what we needed to do, and we did exactly what we needed to do here.
Got to have Decker ready for Kansas City.
Exactly.
All right, Speaks, we got to talk about this Jameson Williams usage again. He was basically non-existent in the offense again this week. I know we have a lot of weapons on this offense, but to have the guy have 1 run basically on the first possession of the game.
1 catch.
And 1 catch on the first possession of the game, and that's his only target, is pretty shocking to me considering we ended up paying the guy $90 million before this season started.
Yeah, very similar to last week's game plan. We get him involved early and often, and then we go away from him, use him as a decoy. I don't like it. I thought he would come back strong in this game, and we went right back to what we did the week previous. I don't understand it with the talent he has. We know he's the most explosive player in the NFL. He's the fastest player in the NFL. We need to utilize him the way we know that we can utilize him and what he is best at, and that's making big plays, baby.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think where I have some struggles with it too is it's working without him. We scored 37 points this week. We continue to score right around 35 points, and we're continuing to be successful with that. But I'm with you too, where we have to get this guy more involved because the season's going to continue to progress along. People are going to start figuring out kind of the way we're going about our offensive scheme, and we're going to need him to start opening up the defense a little bit more with his speed.
I don't think we're moving at the quit unless he's on the field with what we've been able to do. If he's not out there, I don't think we're scoring at the rate we're scoring at. We're not making the plays because he, with his over-the-top speed, is getting a lot of attention. But with that said, we need to get him involved, man. We need to get him some more targets, some more catches. He needs to be in the game plan much more than what he is right now.
Yeah, 1 target is brutal. I will say this about Jameson Williams. Outstanding run blocker for us, just like St. Brown is.
And no complaints. He's not a diva like all those other wide receivers. We love you, Waymo. All right, BK, let's get into one of the more touching and heartwarming stories in all of the NFL, and in this game in particular. David Montgomery's sister was able to finally watch him play a game since a near-fatal car accident in 2024 that paralyzed her from the waist down, making it extremely hard for her to make it to his games. She hasn't been able to see a game since this accident that she sustained in 2024. They laid out the red carpet for her, BK, pulled out all the stops, post-game, pre-game, and you could see how much this meant to David Montgomery.
Absolutely, and I got to give a lot of credit to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Speaks. They rolled out the red carpet for her, like you said. They were able to accommodate her disability with being paralyzed, and then also were able to get her access to go down into the locker room area before the game, so Montgomery could share a conversation with his sister before the game. Dan Campbell does a little nice touch here, as David Montgomery was a high school quarterback in Cincinnati, Ohio, believe it or not, and he was able to throw a touchdown pass in this game, which was pretty cool.
Perfect quarterback rating, baby.
Get her to kind of relive those days a little bit, but just a classy act from the Cincinnati Bengals. I really respect the way that they went about this.
Same.
And the way that we were able to get her to the game and, get her to be able to watch David Montgomery shine there with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, you could really see how much it meant to Montgomery, to the Lions organization as a whole. Props to Cincinnati. I don't think a lot of other organizations would do that to an opposing team or player, but they knew how much this meant to him, being a kid from Cincinnati, Ohio, growing up there, and you just saw it on everyone's face how emotional and heartwarming this was around the league, and in particular for us Detroit Lions fans.
All right, Speaks, let's get into our players of the game here this week. Who do you got?
I got Jared Goff, the general. 19 for 23, 258 yards, and 3 TDs, no picks once again. It stops and starts with Jared Goff. His chemistry with Amon-Ra St. Brown is surgical. He completed his first 8 of 9 passes. Jared Goff has transcended his game to a level I didn't think he was capable of. He now leads the NFL at a completion percentage of 75.2. He leads the NFL with 12 touchdowns. He's not getting talked about enough for what he's doing, the way he's spreading the ball around. Goff is my offense player of the game. On the defensive side of the ball, I got Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson finished with 5 QB hits, a sack, and 4 total pressures. He had a tremendous game. He is now the only player in the NFL with 3 games with 7 pressures and a sack. He also has 3 forced fumbles in the 4th quarter. Aiden Hutchinson, I think, is the best edge rusher in the NFL, BK.
Favored to win Defensive Player of the Year right now on the betting books. Absolutely has had a dominant season. I'm going to get into mine here, Speaks. Offensive Player of the Week, tight end Sam Laporta. Ends up with 5 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown. It looked like he was getting implemented into this offense a little bit more this week after he's had a couple of quieter weeks as he continues to develop and break out in this offense that we're just going to get better and better and better.
Sure.
Loved what I saw out of Laporta this week. Defense, Derek Barnes, talked about him a little bit earlier. He ends up with 7 tackles, 5 of them were solo, and the 1 sack for a safety. Continues to just be a complete game wrecker for opposing offenses. Great game from Barnes this week. Report card time here, Speaks. What do you got?
Let's get into it. MCDC, I'm giving him a B. I thought the game plan, we stuck to it. We didn't stray from it, but there's a lot of things yet to clean up. We're not going to beat the elite teams playing the way we did. Offensive line, I give Hank Fraley a C. The late addition to Manu caused some confusion on the offensive side of the ball. Anytime you have 0 sacks the 3 previous weeks and give up 4 in one game, I can't give you a higher grade than that. I know he'll get back on track, though. Kelvin Shepard, I give you a B+. Anytime you force 3 turnovers, 4 turnovers, 3 of them in which you recover them. You got to have a high grade. Kelvin Shepard has transcended this defense and is one of the best young defense coordinators in all of NFL. I hope we don't lose him anytime soon. And then Johnny Moe, I give you a B. You got to get my boy Waymo more involved. 1 target is unexcusable, but thank you for getting Laporta involved. Anytime you can get our tight end involved in things, it will transcend the offense that much more.
All right, let me get into mine here. Dan Campbell, B. I thought the team came in focused. I love how he got David Montgomery involved in different ways in his reunion here in Cincinnati. Outstanding to see there. So B there from Campbell. John Morton, I got him at a B-. I loved him getting Laporta more involved, but I'd like to see J-Mo get a little bit more touches like you mentioned.
Yep.
I think it opens up the offense a little bit more there. Kelvin Shepard, I got him at a B+, like you were mentioning, the 4 turnovers, ends up with the 3 interceptions, and then also the 1 safety. I think he's got these linebackers playing great, and the DBs are, hunting for those turnovers, and the pass rush is starting to come together, which is great.
Blood in the water.
I think Shepard keeps getting better. Great there. And then Hank Fraley, I got him at a C+. Tough to fill in for Decker late. Manu did a pretty good job, but when you go from 0 sacks the last 3 weeks to 4, it's tough to go
higher than that.
Higher than a C+.
Yeah.
All right, Speaks, let's get into our predictions for this week's primetime matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Detroit Lions at 4-1 are entering into Kansas City for an 8:20 kickoff on Sunday night. The Lions are 1.5-point underdogs to a 2-3 Kansas City Chiefs team, and the over-under is set at 49.5. Kansas City is one of the toughest places to play in the entire league, Speaks. And they're going to come out. Their defense is always solid. I think their defense is going to focus on stopping the run. That's going to be their first priority. That is our bread and butter. I think they succeed at that. But with that being said, they are one of the top blitzing teams in the entire NFL. They blitz at a top 10 rate out of all the teams out there. And Jared Goff is lethal against the blitz.
Yes, he is.
Not really all that impressed with the weapons that they have on the outside. I think our passing attack is going to have to carry us a little bit, but I think our passing attack and the turnovers are enough for us to get this done. 27-24, Lions going to 5-1 here.
I like it. I like it a lot, BK. I'll be waiting all day for Sunday night primetime matchup. This is going to be a tough game. If it's already not a tough enough game going to Arrowhead on the road like BK mentioned, then we have the problems on the outside with our corners. A guy you don't want to play coming in from a loss is Patrick Mahomes. Lost that late game to the Jags, so it's going to be a tough one, but some things we got going for us. We play notorious well in Arrowhead, and Jared Goff is 2-0 versus Patrick Mahomes in head-to-head matchups. In 2018, he won the 54-51 showdown when he was still with the Rams, and then in 2023 season opener, we won 21-20. So I got us winning a close one, 26-23, BK, on the road, Sunday night.
We got pretty close scores there.
We do.
Yeah. Great minds think alike.
That's right, my man. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Detroit Sports Flow with BK and Speaks, you blue Kool-Aid drinkers. We will be back next week to recap the primetime game from the Detroit Lions, Kansas City Sunday night matchup. Have a great night, you filthy animals. Go Lions, baby.
Go Lions. Go Tigers.
Woo!